Who created God, if God created the universe? This age-old question, often viewed as a philosophical riddle, predates modern debates between atheists and believers. Philosophers and theologians throughout history have grappled with this profound inquiry, and it continues to spark discussion even today. Christianity offers a straightforward yet profound answer: God was not created. In Revelation 1 verse 8, the Bible states, "I am Alpha and Omega, the Almighty, who is, who was, and who is to come." This declaration establishes that God is eternal, without beginning or end. Unlike everything in the physical universe, which has a clear origin, God's existence does not rely on an external cause. He is the self-existent being. The concept of eternity is difficult to fully grasp because human understanding is deeply rooted in beginnings and endings. Science, for example, explains the universe's origin through the Big Bang theory, which describes how the universe expanded from an extremely dense and hot state to form everything we see today. But God exists outside of time and space. For him, time has no significance, and he transcends the causal chains that define the universe. The medieval philosopher Thomas Aquinas addressed this in his famous first cause theory. In his monumental work Summa Theologica, Aquinas argued that while everything in the universe has a cause, an infinite regression of causes is impossible. There must be an uncaused cause that initiated all existence, and this cause is God. In essence, God is the ultimate creator who requires no creation. Critics, however, often counter with a pivotal question: if the universe needs a cause, why doesn't God? Stephen Hawking, in his book The Grand Design, posited that the universe could originate from nothing due to the laws of physics, eliminating the need for a divine creator. This perspective directly challenges traditional religious interpretations of God as the first cause. Yet, the Bible addresses this challenge head-on. In Exodus 3 verse 14, when Moses asked for God's name, the response was, "I am who I am." This profound statement reflects the essence of God as the very definition of existence, an eternal being whose existence is self-derived, independent of any external source. In Christian theology, this idea emphasizes God's freedom and autonomy. His existence depends solely on himself. This claim, however, is not universally accepted. Many skeptics argue that the assertion of God's eternal nature sidesteps the core question. Human cognition relies heavily on cause and effect relationships, making the concept of an uncaused God seem counterintuitive. Still, Christian theology views God as transcending these constraints. He exists beyond time, causality, and the laws that govern the universe. For Christians, God's eternal nature is central to their faith. Revelation 22 verse 13 reiterates this truth: "I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end." This is not mere symbolism but a declaration of God's essence, unchanging, timeless, and beyond the limitations of human understanding. While humanity experiences life within the flow of time, marked by the passage of moments and years, God is not bound by such constraints. To him, past, present, and future coexist simultaneously. This idea challenges not only our understanding of time but also our perception of existence itself. The Bible provides examples to illustrate God's eternal nature. Psalm 90 verse 2 declares, "Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God." This poetic yet literal affirmation underscores God's existence before anything else. Ultimately, grappling with the concept of God's eternality invites us to reconsider the nature of reality. While we are accustomed to beginnings and endings, God's existence stands apart, inviting us to marvel at the mystery of the divine and its implications for the universe. Human existence is marked by a cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death, where everything has a defined beginning and end. However, the concept of God's eternality defies this framework entirely. For God, there is no beginning or origin. He embodies the essence of being itself. Isaiah 40 verse 28 proclaims, "The everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, does not faint nor is weary, his understanding is unsearchable." This verse emphasizes that God is unaffected by time, fatigue, or change. He exists eternally, possesses infinite wisdom, and remains constant. Far from being an ancillary belief, this idea forms the foundation of Christian faith. If God were a created being, he would be subject to the same temporal constraints as all other created entities. Christianity, however, teaches that God transcends creation entirely. He is the origin of all things, not a product of creation. Early Christian thinkers, such as Augustine of Hippo, explored this concept deeply. In his seminal work Confessions, Augustine proposed that time itself is part of God's creation. Before the creation of the universe, time did not exist. Consequently, God is not bound by the flow of time as humans are. Instead, he stands outside of time, having brought it into existence. This revolutionary perspective aligns with modern scientific theories on the origin of time and space, highlighting the timeless nature of God. What does this mean for us? God's eternality reshapes how we view life and existence. If God is eternal, he sees all of history, the past, present, and future, as a single moment. Christians believe this is why God knows the future. He exists in it as much as he does in the past and present. This timelessness implies that God's knowledge is infinite. His plans are not limited by linear progression but encompass everything from the beginning to the end. This understanding underscores why Christians regard God's plan as perfect and unchanging. He is not only the creator of the universe but also the architect of a grand design that has already been completed. This brings us to a profound philosophical argument about the existence of God, the ontological argument, introduced by the 11th century philosopher and theologian Anselm of Canterbury. Anselm argued that God is a being greater than which cannot be conceived. While this idea may sound abstract, its implications are clear. God is the ultimate, unparalleled being, beyond human imagination. If God existed only as a concept in the mind and not in reality, then we could conceive of a greater being, one that actually exists. Thus, the greatest conceivable being must exist in reality, otherwise, it would not truly be the greatest. Anselm's argument, while elegant, sparked intense philosophical debate. A notable rebuttal came from his contemporary, Gunilo of Marmoutiers, who offered a famous analogy. If one imagines the greatest conceivable island, does this mean such an island must exist? Gunilo argued that imagining something does not necessitate its existence. This critique ignited a rich discourse on the nature of existence and the limits of human imagination. While Gunilo's challenge highlighted potential flaws in Anselm's logic, it also deepened the philosophical exploration of God's existence. Over centuries, Anselm's ontological argument has continued to inspire and provoke thought, bridging the realms of faith and reason. Through these theological and philosophical reflections, Christianity presents a vision of God as eternal, unchanging, and fundamentally distinct from the created universe. This vision not only deepens faith but also challenges humanity to reconsider the boundaries of existence and the nature of reality itself. Gunilo of Marmoutiers famously critiqued Anselm's ontological argument, asserting that imagining something does not prove its existence in reality. He argued that Anselm's reasoning had logical flaws because it attempted to establish existence merely by defining it into being, without providing tangible evidence. This marked the first significant philosophical challenge to the ontological argument. Yet, Anselm stood firm in his conviction. He responded that God is fundamentally different from any imaginable thing, like an island, because God is a necessary being, entirely independent and self-sufficient. For Anselm, God's existence is not contingent on anything else, it is intrinsic to his nature. By the Enlightenment, philosophers continued to scrutinize the ontological argument. The most notable critique came from Immanuel Kant, who argued that existence is not a predicate. In other words, existence is not a property that can be added to a concept to make it real. According to Kant, stating that something exists does not enhance its greatness or perfection, as Anselm suggested. He concluded that the ontological argument failed to conclusively prove God's existence. Despite the weight of Kant's critique, the discussion surrounding the ontological argument did not end. Instead, it spurred renewed interest among philosophers. In modern times, Alvin Plantinga revitalized the argument using modal logic, which explores the concepts of possibility and necessity. Plantinga's version demonstrated how the ontological argument could be reframed in a way that resonated with contemporary philosophical thought. His contributions reignited debates and positioned the argument as a significant topic in philosophical circles once again. A common question that persists is whether God, like everything else, requires a cause. At first glance, this seems straightforward, as the world around us operates under the principle of causality. Trees grow from seeds, buildings are constructed by humans, and every living being originates from parents. However, Christian theology asserts that God operates outside these constraints. The principle of causality applies only to created things, not to God. God is understood as the uncaused cause, the ultimate source of all existence, who himself requires no cause. This idea has deep roots in Christian philosophy. As early as the 4th century, theologians like Athanasius of Alexandria affirmed that God is self-sufficient, existing by his own power and not dependent on any external force. This self-sufficiency is integral to the concept of divine freedom. In theological terms, the very reason for God's existence is himself. This self-existence is directly tied to God's eternity. If God is eternal, he has no beginning and exists outside the bounds of time and space. When someone asks, "Who created God?" the question itself misunderstands the nature of God as portrayed in Christian theology. God does not belong to the category of beings that require creation, he transcends time, space, and causality. This idea is echoed in Exodus 3 verse 14, where God tells Moses, "I am who I am." This profound statement signifies that God's existence is not dependent on anything else, he is existence itself. To further grasp this concept, one can draw on Aristotle's theory of the unmoved mover. Though Aristotle was not a Christian, his philosophy profoundly influenced Christian thought. Aristotle proposed that all motion in the universe requires an external force to set it in motion. However, this chain of motion cannot regress infinitely, there must be an initial, unmoved mover that causes all motion without itself being moved. For Christian theology, this unmoved mover is God. God is the ultimate origin, the being that initiates all action and existence while remaining entirely self-existent and unchanging. This philosophical foundation not only supports the Christian understanding of God but also challenges us to rethink the nature of existence. God's uncaused and eternal nature invites deeper reflection on the mysteries of creation, the limits of human understanding, and the profound difference between the divine and the created world. By contemplating these ideas, we gain a richer appreciation of the divine as the ultimate source of all that is. Aristotle's concept of the unmoved mover suggests that all motion in the universe requires a source. However, this chain of motion cannot regress infinitely, there must be an initial mover that itself remains unmoved to set everything into motion. This unmoved mover is the ultimate origin of all cosmic activity. Christianity adopted and refined this idea, identifying God as the unmoved mover, the ultimate starting point. Unlike everything else, God does not require a cause because he has no beginning, he has always existed. The very first verse of Genesis acknowledges this by assuming God's existence rather than explaining it. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In Christian faith, God is understood as the source of all creation. The 13th century philosopher Thomas Aquinas systematically explored this concept in his monumental work Summa Theologica. Among his 5 ways to demonstrate God's existence, the argument from motion stands out as particularly influential. Aquinas argued that all motion and change in the universe are caused by something else, but this chain of causality cannot regress infinitely. There must be a first mover, an ultimate initiator, who is God. Aquinas described God as the first cause, the unmoved mover who requires no external force to exist but is the source of all other existence. A helpful way to conceptualize this is to imagine God as a writer. Just as an author creates the characters, settings, and events within a story but exists outside and independent of the fictional world, God operates on a higher dimension. He creates the laws of time, space, and matter but is not constrained by them. This portrayal of God is unique to Christian theology. He is simultaneously transcendent over creation and foundational to all existence. This understanding leads to an even deeper exploration, the Kalam cosmological argument. Regarded as one of the most compelling arguments in modern Christian apologetic, the Kalam argument bridges philosophy and science, encouraging profound reflection on the universe's true origin. Although widely discussed today, the argument has roots in medieval Islamic philosophy and was later refined by Christian thinkers. Contemporary scholars such as William Lane Craig have championed the Kalam cosmological argument in public debates, making it accessible and relevant to modern audiences. The Kalam cosmological argument is built on 3 straightforward premises. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. While seemingly simple, these premises tackle profound questions about the universe's origins. The first premise, that everything that begins to exist has a cause, is almost indisputable. In our daily lives, we see that nothing comes into existence without a cause. Houses don't construct themselves, and cars don't appear spontaneously. This aligns with scientific principles and our everyday experiences. The second premise, that the universe began to exist, is supported by modern scientific discoveries. In 1927, astronomer Georges Lemaitre proposed the theory of cosmic expansion, which later became known as the Big Bang theory. In 1965, the discovery of cosmic microwave background radiation provided strong evidence that the universe expanded from an extremely dense state. These findings confirm that the universe has a definitive beginning, as described in Genesis 1 verse 1, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." The conclusion is inescapable: if the universe has a beginning, it must also have a cause. Something cannot emerge from nothing. Since the universe did not exist before its beginning, the cause must lie beyond the universe itself. This cause must transcend time, space, and matter, attributes that did not yet exist at the universe's inception. This is the core of the Kalam cosmological argument: the cause of a universe must be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and immeasurably powerful. These characteristics align perfectly with the Christian understanding of God. Only a being with such qualities could bring the universe into existence from nothing, crafting a cosmos governed by intricate laws yet entirely independent of them. By presenting a God who exists beyond time and space and yet intimately shapes creation, the Kalam cosmological argument offers a compelling framework for contemplating the origins of the universe and humanity's place within it. It challenges us to think beyond the material world and consider the profound possibility of a creator who transcends all understanding. The story of God's eternal and self-sufficient nature offers a profound lesson for navigating the complexities of modern life. It highlights the importance of anchoring ourselves in something unchanging and timeless, a foundation that provides clarity, direction, and resilience in a constantly shifting world. Just as God's existence is independent of external factors, we too can strive to cultivate inner strength and self-reliance, rooted in enduring values or faith. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, where circumstances, relationships, and even our emotions are in a state of flux, this concept invites us to pause and reflect on what truly matters. It encourages us to look beyond the temporary distractions and stresses of life and focus on building a sense of purpose and meaning that transcends fleeting challenges. Applying this idea to daily life involves prioritizing the things that bring genuine fulfillment, whether it's fostering deep relationships, pursuing passions, or aligning with a higher purpose. When we face difficulties, remembering God's eternal perspective can help us see beyond the immediate moment. Just as God perceives all of history, past, present, and future, as a singular reality, we can adopt a broader outlook, recognizing that life's trials are part of a larger journey. This perspective fosters patience and trust, knowing that struggles can lead to growth and new opportunities. To integrate this lesson, take time to establish your personal anchor. Reflect on the principles or beliefs that define you, and let them guide your actions and decisions. Whether it's faith, love, compassion, or resilience, building your life around these core values will create a sense of stability and peace. This practice also encourages a mindset of gratitude and humility, reminding us that life's greatest joys often come from things that are not bound by time or circumstance, acts of kindness, moments of connection, and the pursuit of truth. In essence, the story of God's unchanging nature invites us to find our own enduring foundation in an ever-changing world. It reminds us to pause, reflect, and focus on what is eternal and meaningful in our lives, so we can navigate challenges with clarity and live with a sense of purpose that transcends the momentary struggles of today. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please comment below the video. Please subscribe to the channel to support us.